Time to dive into the 3 keys to victory for each team in this crossover Thursday presented by PrizePicks, where you can download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Jake Lisco and James Rapine from Locked On Bengals, along with Patricia Traina from Locked On Giants, here to break down 3 keys to victory. And Patricia, let's start with those Giants. I'm looking at Dexter Lawrence. I'm looking at Brian Burns. I'm looking at Malik Neighbors. Who are you looking at when you're thinking about keys to victory for the New York Giants?
I'm looking at Daniel Jones. Can he keep going? I mean, the last since week 2, he's had 3 multiple touchdown games, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions in all 3 of those games. Can he keep that going? We talked about earlier how the Bengals defense is kind of, I don't want to say messed up, but, it's lacking, to be nice. So can Daniel Jones take advantage now that, Dax Hill isn't out there? How can, the offensive line of the Giants, I think, has done a really, really good job with its pass protection. Daniel Jones is not getting knocked around like a pinball as much as he was. So I think that's going to be important. So that would certainly be one of the keys. Can Daniel Jones and that receiving group take advantage of that banged up Bengals defensive secondary? I think another one, obviously, winning in the trenches. I mean, it sounds elementary, but Dexter Lawrence provides a push. He's drawing double and triple teams. Reminds me almost of how Michael Strahan back in the day used to draw 2 or 3 guys on him to slow him down. And even that didn't work. And can the Giants take advantage of them? There have been some games where, they double or triple Dexter Lawrence and guys aren't getting off single blocks, taking advantage. So they need to make Joe Burrow uncomfortable. And, because no quarterback likes to be made uncomfortable. No quarterback likes to get hit. And then finally, I would say find a way to slow down Jamar Chase and those receivers, because the Bengals have good receivers. And who do you really, devote your resources to? Do you double up Chase? Do you double up, somebody else? What do you do against that Giants defensive secondary? They played better last week, like I said, against the Seahawks triple threat. But can they keep it going? And if so, how are they going to allocate the resources to stop those guys?
Yeah, I always think it's interesting how teams play the Bengals wide receivers, because it is unique where you might not play a lot of 2 high safeties, and then that's exactly what you do against the Bengals. And in facing the Seattle Seahawks, and especially how DK Metcalf was playing going into that game, it certainly gives the Giants a way to test the waters. But I totally agree with you about the trenches. And to me, that's the one path. If the Giants are going to throw a wrench in this Bengals offense, it's that, right, Jake? I mean, what else would you say? I would expect Joe to make the right reads. And if he has to use his tight ends, we've seen him do that. We've seen him run the offense through the running backs when needed. And certainly we know about the receivers. So getting pressure on him can limit that. Other than that, if you take away Jamar and T, well, he's going to have other options that he can beat you with.
The other thing that stands out to me about the New York defense is they have athletes all over the field, athletes at every position, from the front 4 to the secondary to the linebackers, where they, of course, add Isaiah Simmons to that linebacking group. And maybe he's not the best linebacker in the world, but he's certainly a great athlete, and we know that. And so there's more athleticism in this unit than most of the defenses, if not all of the defenses the Bengals have faced this year, which includes the Washington Commanders and Carolina Panthers, 2 of the worst defenses in the NFL. But it comes down to how they handle Dexter Lawrence. And that Brian Burns and Marius Mims matchup, to me, very interesting. More of a speed rusher, the agile type rusher in Brian Burns. And there's a clear weakness on tape for Marius Mims so far, where occasionally he will still overset. Occasionally he will still get beat with those quick moves back inside. Mims dealing with a very sore ankle after he got kicked in that surgically repaired ankle last week, and dealt with what he described as potentially a reaction with the nervous system where he got kicked, perhaps with some exposure there. So Zach Taylor describing him as very sore, hopeful for him to go this week. But if he can't, or if he's limited in some capacity, that matchup is a bit concerning, where Joe Burrow and this offensive line have been able to manage pressure really well. I think that for the first time since that Chiefs game, where you have to deal with Chris Jones and that Steve Spagnuolo defense, there is a bigger challenge in terms of a pressure package coming from this New York Giants defense this week. But James, from a Bengals perspective, what do you see as the 3 keys for the Bengals to win this game?
you're going to see it align a little bit with Patricia's, just on the opposite side of the spectrum. You got to make Daniel Jones uncomfortable. You got to get after him, hit him, find a way to pressure him. And along those lines, the run game, which I'll get into in just a second, you got to keep rolling on offense. Key number 2, 3 straight games of 30+ points. That has to continue. And then finish. They haven't finished games. 4 losses by a total of 15 points, games on the line every single time, and they have not finished. Even in their lone win, they could have put the Panthers away much, much sooner. They didn't let Carolina hang around. And so the path for this defense, the way to neutralize things a little bit, because you're not going to be able to guard Malik Neighbors all day. And I'm not sure if you are able to do that with a bunch of resources. Well, then there's going to be other guys that are in one-on-one situations. Make Daniel Jones uncomfortable, because that'll lead to some turnovers. If you take away the run and you're not giving up 5+ yards per carry, that will go a long way as well. He's agile, and so he's certainly not Lamar Jackson, but he's not Jacoby Brissett either. And so you got to find a way to make sure that he doesn't beat you with his legs. And then, like I said about the offense, this offense is playing as well as we've seen them play, and they're as multiple as they've ever been in the Joe Burrow era, because they can win with a bunch of different ways. And I do think it's going to be interesting to see how Amarius Mims does this week, especially if that ankle is a bit sore. But you need this offensive line to keep Joe upright, even though it's much easier said than done. Zach Moss, huge in pass protection. We'll see how he does this week after tweaking his ankle against the Ravens. Huge from a pass protection standpoint to have him out there. And then the finishing games part of it, there's going to be a moment. I don't think the Bengals are just going to go there and get blown out. I think they're going to be inspired. I think that they're going to play very motivated. But I also expect this game to be close, because it feels like every Bengals game is going to be within 10 points. And so let's say it's a 3-point game or a 7-point game in the fourth quarter and Joe Burrow has the ball. Can he go finish it? Or are they going to let the Giants hang around? I think that that's huge in what is very much a must-win game for the Bengals.
And to your point, James, the Giants don't have a very good record on Sunday Night Football, especially at home. So if there was ever a week for the Bengals to snap out of it, this might be a good one if they can, batten down the hatches, so to speak.
Patricia, when you looked at the schedule for the Giants before the year started, when you looked at this game, what were your thoughts about playing the Bengals in Week 6 on Sunday Night Football at home coming into the season, before the season started?
Oh, I automatically had it down as a loss.
Meanwhile, we're looking at this game from the Bengals side thinking, oh, they have a soft schedule to open. Yeah, they have Kansas City. Yeah, they have Baltimore, but they have Washington. They have New York. They have New England. They have Carolina. And now we're looking at this game and I'm thinking, all right, Malik Neighbors, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns.
Yeah.
Can those guys wreck a game?
Yeah.
Can they drive the Bengals into a deeper and darker place than they already are? And those are the questions that we will get answers to in this game.